5 minutes on the clock. The clock starts when the first tweet goes up. Let's see it. Here we go. All right. People say that judging in MMA is a much more difficult endeavor over boxing. That's true. After watching Canelo versus Triple G1 and now Tyson versus Fury, you mean Wilder versus Fury, and seeing the judging, I'm starting to wonder if it is boxing that is more difficult to judge. Thoughts? No. Big John McCarthy told me something really interesting once. You can take someone trained in MMA and to get them trained up to the level where they can judge boxing, it's a very short learning curve. Conversely, getting someone who is a boxing judge to then be able to judge MMA fights can often be a much, much longer learning curve. It's just a different sensibility about things. There are more combative aspects that you have to weigh inside of MMA, and there's fewer rounds. In boxing, there's a little bit more variance for different ideas and for error, actually. It's just in this one, they just made a lot of it. Next. With Fury and Wilder having a two-way rematch clause, but not for a draw, as Fury said in the interview afterwards, do you think this is something champs in MMA will start getting put in contracts? And we'll see more rematch, and what do you think if that happens? There is no way, short of someone being Conor McGregor powerful, the UFC is going to allow one of these guys to introduce a rematch clause into their contracts. Not going to happen. Next. Overeem, Dos Santos, Hua, and to some extent Ngannou. Does it warm your heart that the seasoned fighters are the ones who won their respective bouts? Does it complicate things that no torches were passed in the shallow heavyweight division? Awesome show. Thank you very much for that. You know, on the one hand, there was and there wasn't. Tuivasa didn't beat JDS, but on the other hand, Willis did beat Hunt. So there was I wonder if you call that torch passing in the Willis-Hunt bout, but generally speaking, I think it's better if you've got these institutional figures when they naturally get pushed out and they don't suppress the amount of newcomers who can then re-energize the division. So generally, I don't like what happened over the weekend, but to your point, how do you not be happy for Alistair Overeem? How do you not be happy for Junior Dos Santos and particularly Shogun Hua? You have to be, right? So it's a little bit of both, I think. Next. Why are so many of the refs who have been around for years making critical mistakes constantly as of late? What can be done, if anything? So this is another complicated one, right? It's like, I'm not sure who you're referring to in this particular case. There needs to be constant re-education, and to some extent there is. But the state apparatus isn't really the one doing it unless they partner with a particular referee. Like Big John McCarthy teaches courses. Herb Dean teaches courses. I think even other ones do, like Jason Herzog and some other ones. It's not like the state teaches courses and then they go get the licensing from that. They are the ones not doing the licensing per se, but doing all of the best practices as it relates to that particular industry. And so you're asking why they make mistakes. I think number one, that's just what the highest level of refereeing looks like for the most part. And number two, I wonder how much professional development that actually happens in the course of their careers. I'm sure a lot. I just don't know what the full answer is. And so it's kind of hard to understand how they make progress over time. Next. Caldwell or Horiguchi? Who are you leaning towards? Got to be Caldwell, Darian Caldwell. Horiguchi is a little bit bigger than I thought, but he's not nearly as big as Caldwell. I'd say he's actually more well-rounded than Darian, but Darian's shutdown wrestling should make the difference. We're going to see, but that's going to be a super interesting one because it'll be in that squared ring and not that rounded cage that Bellator uses. Should be a lot of fun. Next. How would you rate the overall growth of Tyson Pedro? He had a lot of hype coming into the UFC, but never been on a steady rise. Who's a suitable opponent for him, in your opinion? I don't think about the opponent at this point. You know, he looked really good early. It wasn't like he had looked like even Tuivasa. Tuivasa and Pedro lost, but they looked good early. Overall growth of Tyson Pedro, I don't know. It's like on the one hand, he does a lot of things right. To me, the issue only seemed to be started strong. Tuivasa, same thing for the most part. It was just making good decisions consistently over time seemed to be a bit of an issue. So maybe it's just a maturation thing where, over time they learn to just slowly implement their offense rather than just sort of improvising all the time. They begin to understand when to improvise and when not to. It's a difficult question. You have to also ask what's his ultimate upside. I guess we're going to have to find out. But he's still too green to say that this is all we're going to get from him. There's a lot of life left in him. Let's go to the next one. In an interview recently, Dana said the Ultimate Fighter will keep going. I can't see any reason to keep it around. Why do you think the UFC has such a hard time letting Tough go? I think they're going to be able to cut costs in the next season because they're going to have their own, They're going to have their own a venue, and it does produce some decent stars over time, and they just seem to think that it's a good vehicle. I don't know why. Okay, there we go to my friend in the back.
Yo.
He is I don't know, what are you?
Yeah, at this point, I don't even know. But
I'm trying to think of some stupid-ass comparison. But here you are, Danny Segura. Time for the sound off. This is where we take your calls. Number to call, as always, 844-866-2468. Or if you're international, you can email the MMA Hour at voxmedia.com.
That's right.
All right, man. Tee us up here. By the way, can you make sure that we retweet from MMA Fighting the Henner thing?
Yeah,
they're this close to getting across the finish line.
I saw just a few hundred, right?
Yeah, they were asking for $25,000, and they're at 24,640.
Okay,
something like that. So they're almost there.
Yeah,
just need a little bit
make
more.
It happen.
All right, what do we got on store? Take it away, Maestro.
So, I know this is an MMA show, but the biggest fight over the weekend was obviously Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, so let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
We have a few questions about that, but we do have MMA questions, so don't worry. We'll get to those in a second.
All right.
All right, so let's get started.
Hey, Luke Thomas. This is David calling from Toronto, Canada, home of the 2019 NBA champion Raptors. My question is about the Deontay Wilder and the Tyson Fury fight. In the 12th round, when Deontay Wilder got that knockdown, do you think that saved him from losing the fight and giving the decision of a draw? Or do you think the decision of a draw was inevitable anyways because of the nature of boxing judging, just the way that we know the sport is corrupt and the American guy was going to get the favorable call in the United States? Thank you very much and keep up the good work.
So this is a great question. I don't know why people keep calling it like boxing judging. It's like, dude, it's the same commission.
Yeah.
It's the exact same commission. Different judges. By the way, one of the judges was Mexican. I think one was Japanese. And one was Canadian. None of them were from the United States. None of them. And none from the UK either, as I understand it.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. But the answer is one of the scorecards was 113-113. So even if they had given that to Deontay Wilder, it would have been 10-9, which would not have been enough to sway it. Fury would have won. So I guess technically, if you believe that he was going to win no matter what, then there's nothing I can say to you. But if you believe that they're just bad judges, then yes, it would have made a bit of a difference.
How'd you score the fight, by the way?
7 rounds to 5. Well, I mean, that's not quite right because they're 10-8s.
Yeah.
But essentially 7 rounds to 5 for, I thought it was a comfortable win for Tyson Fury. What about you?
Yeah. I didn't keep track of every single round, but I think he won. I gave Wilder, I think, the second, and then the other 2 rounds where he dropped.
I think that's about right, yeah.
Where he dropped Fury.
I cannot get over him getting up.
I still can't. Yeah, I can't believe
Dude, when they when people like took the call of, and by the way, Paulie Malignaggi, I know people don't like him. Phenomenal job. Phenomenal job calling out the judging.
Yep.
Al Bernstein did a great job. Shouts to Mauro Ranallo, who killed it. Yep. But the people who took that clip, and then when Fury gets up, they put the Undertaker music on top of it, was actually kind of awesome, I have to admit.
I mean, as soon as I heard Mamma Mia from Mauro, I'm like, all right, this fight's done. It's a wrap. I'm like, wow. And then he gets up. It was straight up like, have you ever seen any zombie movie? The first infected, they always have a good emphasis on them where it's like, they're dead, and then all of a sudden, boom, they come back to life. That was literally what I saw. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Dude, insane. When his head bounced, that's what I was like, it's over.
Yeah.
Him getting up is, I don't know how you medically explain something like that. I've never seen anything like that.
I believe that's called magic.
The magic of boxing. Yeah. There you go.
Amazing. All right, let's move on and let's keep talking about the scorings here of that fight.
All right.
This is Luke from Dallas, and I guess I just wanted to know which boxing sin you think was more egregious, giving Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder a tie, or giving Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez in their first fight a tie.
Oof.
Thank you guys. Love what you do. Have a great day.
I would say the first one. Sorry, what am I saying? Fury versus Wilder, I think is easier to call. That one was harder to call in my judgment.
Yeah.
This one was not a difficult call. But if you ever watch my live chat, I've talked about this before. This idea that how do I explain it? You have subjective criteria. He knocks him down. You don't have to go 10-8, but the tradition is you go 10-8.
Right, yeah.
But more than that, especially in MMA, where people don't understand this. If you've never sat ringside or cage sat on a fight, it does look different than if you're watching back or even on TV. It doesn't feel the same.
You miss a lot of the action, especially if it's
100%
cage. Yeah.
And so it's hard to explain. It's like you have this experiential difference. You have your own criteria about what matters to you, what doesn't.
Yeah.
You have the judges don't sit together; they sit at different positions. So if a fight is taking place far away from you at the other end, it can be hard to see. Versus if it's right on top of you and a big shot lands, it can really have an impact. All of those things, plus incompetence, plus a bad scoring system that just lets you have latitude. Dude, I've said this before. People like you could have a fight where there's a case for X to win and a case for Y to win.
Yeah.
It's like, let me get this straight. You can have a judging system where either guy can win, and you're wondering why you're upset with the results. Why wouldn't you be if you live in a world where it's possible and plausible that either person could put together a winning effort? It's a super bankrupt way to adjudicate athletic contests, but it's the one we have. And as I mentioned in the weigh-in, it's the one we're stuck with, baby.
Yeah. I would say this one was probably more of for me, this was a lot easier to judge than the Triple G Canelo. I have a much easier time judging MMA fights than I do boxing. And the Triple G Canelo, although I thought Triple G in the first one, he did a lot better, I still thought it was pretty competitive. Like, it was back and forth, With this one, it was clear that, sure, Wilder had the power and he's probably the biggest power puncher right now. But it was clear to me that Fury was the better boxer, and just the way he was tagging him up with the jab and moving. For me, over that course of 12 rounds, I saw who the better fighter is. With Triple G Canelo, it was still kind of up in the air even till the very end.
King Mo was a big believer that Canelo won the first one, but take that for what it's worth.
All right, well, let's keep the boxing theme boxing-esque, because this is not exactly
Jesus, people want to talk about
pertains to
this.
the fight, but somebody from our team.
Hey, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Segura, this is Luke from Dallas.
Same caller, by the way.
My question is, after every big fight, it seems like every weekend, people want to bring up who's the new GOAT, who's the GOAT, And I guess after the Wilder Fury fight, I want to ask you guys, is Esther Lin the GOAT of photography? Because some of these pictures she was getting were crazy. Thank you guys so much. Watch the show every week. Love you guys. Stay safe. Have a great day.
Yes,
all right, we love you too. Esther Lin, my God, did you see her photos from
last 5 weeks? Yeah, Mark Muramundi tweeted it out.
Insane. Insane.
Here's a really easy way to understand it. Who is the most talented person at MMA fighting? It's Esther, right? She is the most pound for pound for what, like, in terms of their individual. I mean, she's obviously a better photographer than us. I don't mean that. What I mean is, at doing what she does, she is better than the rest of us at doing what we do. She is far and away the most talented person at MMA fighting. And, dude, it's like, how do you replace that?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, they could fire me now and replace me. I'm not that indispensable. You can't replace her. What, they're going to hire you? You'd be up there just Snapchatting with your iPhone and shit, She's, she's one of a kind.
Yeah, she's got a very unique eye and
let me say this, though.
Capturing
Let me say this. I also think that he doesn't get enough credit. I think he's also very exceptional, is Ryan Loco. He does some stuff for PFL and some other businesses. Ryan Loco is a very good photographer as well, and not enough people recognize that, so I'd like to take a moment to do that.
All right. So we got boxing out of the way.
All right, finally.
Let's talk about MMA.
All right.
Hey, this is the Jank calling from Gainesville. Just wondering, where does RDA go from here? He's kind of stuck in that in-between welterweight and lightweight. He's just too big to make those cuts to 55, it would seem, and then now it's coming back to haunt him because these other guys coming down from, 200 pounds or so, the size and the strength seems to be an issue as much as the technical ability. So where does he go now? Also, how do I pay the $20 to get unblocked? Just tell me where to send it. It's at Shady Swisha. And sorry I back-talked you. Thanks, guys.
You're about to make some money.
I don't tolerate that sass. RDA. So I made this point when he fought Usman. First of all, Usman, people were like, oh, Usman's just better. I am perfectly willing to believe that Usman is just better. But Usman was clearly also physically bigger and stronger.
Yes.
It's just a reality, okay? So both can be true. It's not one or the other. I don't want to take anything away from Kamaru Usman. Yes, he's the better fighter, hands up, I admit it. But he was also bigger. And so I made this point. everybody, when I did I not say this on the MMA Beat on Thursday? If somebody was like down a weight class and they jump up and they have immediate success, everyone goes, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Cutting weight, overrated. And then invariably they begin to lose fights because that's overrated in terms of what value it provides, not cutting weight. It's good for your health. I don't know how competitively good it is.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is the point. It's like, dude, why do you think he was cutting to 55? For that reason. It's because you got Kamaru Usmans up there that are just too talented and too big to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was cutting down. So the answer is 165 is the answer.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because if you look at the guys he fought at welterweight that weren't wrestlers, you know, he beat Robbie Lawler, who was a former champion, Neil Magny, who's very game, and Tarek Saffiedine, who obviously Strikeforce champ, former Strikeforce champ. But then once you run into the wrestlers, that's the real test. Because in the striking, you can be a little undersized and, you know, have success, you know, be successful just fine. It's mostly, you know, manipulating your body, you know, around your opponents. Here, you're actually, you know, you gotta, you know, engage in the grappling, which, you know, size always plays a big difference there. So for me to finally see like somebody be successful going up a weight class, I want to see him against a wrestler. You know, a striker tells you something, but not, you know, not the whole picture. My guess next for RDA, man, if that 165 division doesn't come up next, fine, stick around welterweight, but be a little smarter with, you know, with the type of matchups you get. You know, back to back, Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. You know, probably outside of Tyron Woodley, the two best wrestlers in that division. Obviously, you know, Ben Askren now in there, but you know, he hasn't officially made his debut. Man, just get some strikers. You know. Wrestlers,
easier said than done. Yeah. These guys want the title, man, and you got to go through absolute murderers to do it.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
All right.
Let's talk about Joe Schilling and something that happened during his fight.
Hell yeah.
Hi, Luke and Danny. This is Jason calling from White Plains, New York. Just wanted to get your thoughts on a fight from the prelims in the Bellator show. Not sure if you saw it this weekend since there was a lot of MMA, but it was a fight between Joe Schilling and Will Morris. Will Morris's corner threw in the towel after a tough first round, but it's debatable. Maybe he could have came back out and done something in that fight. Do you think it was a good decision on Will Morris's corner to throw in the towel for his fight against Joe Schilling? Thanks again. Have a good one.
So, by the way, I'm going to talk about that fight on the Monday Morning Analyst coming up next. So we get right to it. As I understand it, I believe what had happened was, first of all, Will Morris took. I'm not here to be demeaning, but he took a serious beating. Okay, Joe Schilling was all over him like white on rice, and took virtually no damage. And I also think that the right arm or hand or something of Morris was broken because he had trouble. It was dangling a little bit. And he had trouble moving it. I think it was part of the equation. If they had just stopped it because of the ass whooping, I would not have. I wouldn't have minded at all. But I think they stopped it because it's like, dude, you're getting beat up and you have real no way to defend yourself. By the way, that break could get worse. It could go through the skin, or God only knows whether complication medically could happen. So big shouts to the corner of Will Morris for having the willingness. And did you see him protest? He was bitter, Will Morris.
Yeah.
What are you doing? This is ridiculous. I can keep going. And his corner was like, no, you definitely cannot. That's what the sport needs. It needs people who protect these guys from themselves. I said this before. Everyone's like, you ask the fighter, whether what about your thing about your corner not stopping it? Good. I'm glad they didn't stop it. Why are you asking the fighter? The whole idea is that the corner is supposed to have decision-making skills over them, not in concordance or in accordance with them. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice seeing that because it wasn't like he was getting only smoked in the stand-up department, and we know that he's, you know, Joe Schilling is an excellent striker. So you're like, all right, maybe if you take the fight to the ground, you know, he also took a bit of a beating on the ground, and Joe Schilling's ground game was looking good. So yeah, I mean, there was, you know, with a broken hand, very little chance for a comeback. We need to see more of that, and you know, take a page out of guys like Mark Hunt. You know, 13-13, and you know, still a top star in MMA, and you know, at the top of his weight class. Look, in boxing, maybe, you know, it becomes a little harder because losses mean a lot, but not in MMA. So take advantage of that. You know, fight for another day.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Here we're gonna touch. All right, we'll see. This is a surprise question.
All right, let's see.
Think wisely.
Hey, Luke, it's Bryce calling from Coast MMA again. I had a fun question for you. If you had a chance to pick any rapper to fight in the UFC or any other MMA promotion, who would it be? It could be past or present. My pick would be Sean Price, the late and great. Ran into that guy in the airport one time, and man, he was huge. Put 6 months of training on him, and he's a beast. Love the show. Cheers.
Who's your prospect?
Ooh, it's got to be Wiz Khalifa, right?
Nah, get out of here.
You know he trains.
Yeah, so?
Okay, well, I'm not saying he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just saying
Have you seen his training?
it's better than most. It's better than CM Punk. Wiz Khalifa could beat CM Punk. Want to bet me? Bet you. I bet you.
I don't know. That's a tough one. He has been training.
He's also younger. Now,
yeah.
I don't know how his rap lifestyle, fits into.
Right. What about Snoop Dogg? Did you see him, sparring? Was it Daniel Serafine?
60 pounds, wet and wearing boots? No.
He's got that jab, that reach.
Eazy-E was right about him.
Your boy Tekashi 6ix9ine?
He's got problems. He's got problems.
He does have problems.
Who would be a good one? Who's I guess 50 was kind of jacked, right?
I mean, he still is. At one point, 50 has sort of become a meme now with, in 2018. But at one point, I mean, 50 is a big dude. He was a scary guy. And I think he did some boxing training. I know he's close to Mayweather. So
all these guys, it would be Sean Price because if you know anything about his rap, he would always make fun of gangster rappers for talking about guns and not throwing hands. That was a constant theme in his.
Maybe he can walk out to one of his songs.
In fact, from the song Onion Head, gangster rappers can't fight, so they rap about guns. Is actually the line. Maybe it would be Sean Price. Rest in peace. There you go.
I don't know if you know this rapper, but Chief Keef.
I do know Chief. Didn't Chief Keef? Wasn't he? Didn't Tekashi 6ix9ine put out a hit on him? Isn't that what's alleged?
It'd be the other way around. But yeah, Tekashi was talking smack about Chief Keef. Chief Keef's legit. I mean, there's tons of videos of him scrapping on YouTube that you can look up, and he's actually a pretty.
Did you ever see Sean Price slap a fan on stage in Chile?
No.
A fan ran up on stage, so Sean Price slapped him hard, like bow, like knocked him sideways.
How big is Sean Price?
He was big. I mean, he's dead. He's dead now, but he was he was a big boy. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, he smoked a lot, and all his teeth kind of fell out.
Maybe.
So I don't know. There you go.
Yeah.
Here's who it wouldn't be. Wouldn't be Drake. How about that? Sorry, Max. It would not be Drake.
All right. Yeah, I would agree. Drake would probably be at the bottom of my list. All right. Let's talk about the start time of all these, MMA events.
All right.
And it was a long weekend.
They're awful, but go ahead.
Yeah, it was bad.
Luke, Danny, love the show. So what's up with the UFC having 6 fights on the main card? I mean, I was falling asleep by the Hunt and Willis fight, to be honest. I did see the co-main and main, though, which were really great. It's over at, 1 a.m. Eastern time. It's really not ideal. Sometimes I think, just in life in general, and that definitely applies here in the UFC, sometimes less is more. And I think the big Fox shows are perfect the way they are set up. Let me know your thoughts.
So he is correct. The big Fox shows are perfect. They start at what? Some 8 p.m., some 9 p.m.
Yeah, 8, and then they go to 10 and some change, depending on how the main event goes.
It's 4 fights.
4 fights. It's perfect. That is exactly how it should go. It's been a disaster. I won't say that the Fox deal's been a disaster because the Fox deal is this complicated, multifaceted arrangement, and then each aspect of that deserves to be weighted accordingly.
Yeah.
What I would say is that the deal put itself over fan interest in a number of different ways. Number one, with the volume of shows that I'm not sure that the fans really asked for. And number two, or really are even serviced by. And two, the start and run time. Starting at 10, having 6 fight main cards, and then allotting 30 minutes essentially for each fight. So you would run up until 1 or past it. These were aspects of the deal that were made to benefit the deal and not fans. And I am desperately hoping and have been told that there might be some reasons for optimism as we transition over to ESPN because holy shit, that is unbearable. Yeah. And it has been a real drag trying to let me be clear about this. I only do on my personal YouTube channel, I'll do a post-fight show. I would do them for the fight night shows, but there's too many of them and they go too late. The pay-per-views end earlier, for crying out loud. So they'd get more. I mean, this is a small consolation, but they'd get more from me if they did anything to do to service the fan who cares, but they don't. So there you go.
Yeah, start time. I mean, 10 p.m. wouldn't be that bad if it were a 4-fight main card, but 6 fights, Jesus. They do drag on. So
or just do 6 fights, but do fight pass pacing.
Oh yeah,
But they can't because
If
they
you
have
can cut
added
all the
inventory.
commercials. Yeah. One of the best things, and I love watching live sports, but if you're ever, unable to catch the fights and you go back and watch them the next day and you have it recorded on your DVR and you can just run through them, that's the best. No commercial.
Fair enough.
All right. Now let's talk about women's MMA.
Hey, this is Marissa from Lincoln, Nebraska. I hear like every week
That's for you.
almost on all these different MMA podcasts that women don't listen. Well,
They don't.
I do every single week religiously.
I appreciate that.
Thank you guys for doing what you do. I enjoy listening to you guys every single day. I don't necessarily have a question, more of a comment. If I did have a question, I think I would just ask any fantasy fights you would like to see. What would they be? Women and female, any weight class, as long as they're active. I want to hear active fighter fantasy fights.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Women's MMA fantasy matchup. Go.
Well, first of all, I've looked at my YouTube stats. My viewers are 96.3% male. It's like a Jordan Peterson lecture up in my audiences. So it's dudes, okay? As for the question, fantasy, but it has to be active. That's a tough one. I would say Pena versus Rousey, but Rousey's not active, so neither is Juliana. Man, that's a tough one. Do you have one in mind?
I mean, mine is already booked. Nunes Cyborg.
Yeah,
I think
it's a great one.
I think the biggest threat to Cyborg has to be Amanda Nunes, in my opinion. I don't see anyone else being any other women out there, posing as big as a threat as Nunes poses. Another fight that I would like to watch, and I think it could happen, and I think it likely will. Holly Holm versus Amanda Nunes. That'd be fun.
Sure, that's another great one. Trying to think. I mean, Gina Carano's not active, but there's some part of me that wishes she would still compete or had not stopped as early as she had. It's interesting. A lot of the women's fights that we had kind of wanted as like these fantasy fights are being made. For example, with this weekend, Shevchenko versus Double J. So there's that. That would be what I would have naturally have picked, but that one's already being made. No, I don't have it off the top of my head. I guess I have a lame non-answer for you, but my wishes have been met. There you go. Sorry, Danny. I suck.
All good.
All right, next.
All right. Let's talk about now the big fight coming up.
Jesse Morgan from Ontario, Canada calling. With all this talk on whether or not Max Holloway will be medically fit to fight this Saturday, do you think this is hurting the build-up to the fight? Or will it end up making the fight even bigger if, God willing, the fight is made official on Friday? Thank you for taking my call.
There is zero chance that is impacting. If anything, people are not giving it enough attention. Now, I'm sure Max feels differently because every interview, including this one, dude, I feel bad. I mean, I didn't want to ask Max about it, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't. But the poor guy had to hear it from me. He's going to hear it all freaking week. You know what it reminds me of? It was Darren Till and the weight cut. It sort of reminds me of that. You have one bad incident, dude, they don't let you forget it until you just go through multiple times. So if he goes through and he makes the weight and he wins the fight, it'll be, a thing of the past by and large.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's dampening enthusiasm at all. The ticket sales in Toronto are phenomenal. Dude, I cannot wait for Saturday. What a ridiculously good fight card, main and co-main, but that main event is about freaking perfect. Two guys in their prime. The only issue is, what is their star power? But that has nothing to do with the question that guy asked. So, no, I am ready to rock.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I don't think it's impacting at all. And also, Max doing all this media, he looks he sounds in good spirits. And, for last fight week when he was supposed to fight Brian Ortega, he was already looking a little off in the media. So, we see he's completely fine. He's out there chilling with Drake. He's, on Instagram.
I think
should be good to go.
Let me give them a bit of an acknowledgement. Check out his interview he did with Complex. He actually went in studio with them. He was actually in New York last week, and he went around and did the tour, and you can see him sitting on the couch. He has vigor and energy, and his face has color, and he looks fine. He looks fine. Any conspiracy theorists about why he didn't want to come on Skype, but
Plus, I feel like most of that talk is around the hardcores. I feel like the ones that are they're casually into it, I think they kind of forgot about the incident. Especially now with everything that's been moving on, it almost feels like it happened a while ago, even though it was this year.
It was.
Yeah,
tough year for him though.
Yep.
Let's roll on.
All right, you got time for one more?
Yeah, we got a couple more.
Hey, Luke, Danny, it's Jordan calling from Gainesville. Don't you think it's a huge oversight that Fight Pass and UFC don't have a PS4 app to watch fights on PS4? I mean, I don't have a laptop and our cable's not hooked up. And so I'm sitting here watching Bellator on PS4, but no UFC. And I just think that it's a huge oversight. What do you guys think?
That's a question for me. Get an Xbox.
Wait a second. I thought the PlayStation.
No PS4.
I thought PlayStation had something called Vue, VUE, or you could watch everything on there.
Mm-hmm. Do you own any gaming system?
No, I read books.
Oh yeah, right. Smart. I mean, you can do both. You know that, right?
I just like trolling all the donks. No, I had an Xbox and then my home got robbed and they actually took my Xbox. Can you believe it? I had it a week. A week. My wife got me an Xbox and they effing stole it.
Xbox One, the latest?
Yeah, it was right. It had just come out, but it had been out relatively recently.
Yeah.
And I played Mortal Kombat for a week.
Well, it's good to know you're an Xbox guy at least.
Yeah. Well, my wife got it for that reason because she was like, I wouldn't call myself a gamer, but Xbox, as I understand it, has gaming plus all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas PlayStation is sort of just a little more gaming centric.
Yeah.
To that caller's point. Yeah, it's a little bit surprising, but I don't know. I'm one of these guys that's like, I mean, I'm not sure what to say. Like, if you have a PlayStation, that means you have a television. If you have a television, that means you can get a Roku box for you can get a Roku thumb drive or whatever it is for what, $20 or something? Like there are ways, or just get a Fight Pass subscription and then Chromecast it. Like there's solvable problems here,
Yeah. Also,
or just steal. Just steal. There's other ways.
Or you can just
don't steal. I'm teasing. I'll get fired.
Just dump the PS4 and get an Xbox.
Yeah, just do
better.
that.
It's a superior.
Give me the keys
console.
to your place, and I'll steal your stuff, and then you can have my stolen Xbox.
Oh yeah, full circle, right?
Yes, that's right. Re-gifting things I steal.
Yeah.
All right, give me one more, then we got to go.
All right. This is our last one.
Hey guys, it's Justin. I'm calling you from the immortalized shithole that is Mobile, Alabama.
Oh yeah.
So onto the question at hand. You see with RDA, Jake Matthews, and the fellow that beat him this weekend, all these 55ers that have moved up to 170. And my question is, what type of meta would a fighter need to employ in order to make a successful move 15 pounds up?
That's the question?
That is the question.
Jesus.
So,
I mean,
you're moving up a weight class.
Yeah, he's talking about the
do you need to
metagame.
do?
What are the sort of overall strategic adjustments and approaches to the game that one would need? Well, it would depend entirely on the game and who you're fighting. I'm not sure how to answer that exactly. I mean, it would if you're like a RDA, it would really. So one of the things that really cost him was he was in that tiny cage. So that really hurt him because he had a problem just constantly getting backed up and then he had nowhere to go. It would seem like in a case like that, evasion and footwork would be really kind of critical. Clinch breaking, separation along the fence, takedown defense. And those would be things you would do anyway, but it would really become a premium skill in those particular circumstances. But it would be hard to say. If the issue is you're trying to countenance the addition of 15 extra pounds, implying that weight advantage is something that your opponents will have, then it would be something like that, I would imagine. Yes.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of bulking up if you're going up a weight class? Because I feel like a lot of fighters don't do that. If they do go up because they feel like they were obviously too big at the one before, so they think they'll be just fine. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that appropriate bulking in that particular circumstance is probably fine. So the answer is some addition of muscle mass not merely beneficial, but maybe even required for that kind of categorical leap? The answer is probably yes, but there's going to be a point where you're going to get real diminishing returns to outright negativity anchoring you down.
Right.
Find a pro, a specialist who can find that exact sweet spot for you and stick to that.
I don't remember out of the top of my head, but has any fighter successfully gone up and, bulked, looked, bigger and has adjusted to the weight class as far as like size and strength out of the top of my head? I don't know.
Conor McGregor.
I feel like he's still a small 55er though.
No, he's big.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's not wins or loses, it's not because he's he's not undersized. You ever seen him in person?
I've seen him, but from far,
He's
like
big.
at press conferences.
He's big.
Stuff like that.
He's big. He's a big boy. He's not
I
like
saw the back of his head when I was at the hearing.
he's not huge. He's like there's bigger lightweights. Don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
But they're not so big that they can lord that over him. He's not outsized in that way at all.